Hey everybody, welcome back to the Daily Fan Racing YouTube channel. I'm your host GordoGambles, and today we are talking about North Wilkesboro, the AllStar Race. It has a few different names, but it has that same excitement level. Well, hopefully we're going to see what kind of optimistic or pessimistic Ryan we have beside me. But as always, I am joined by Mr. Ryan Larkin and Jason from DFS NASCAR. I'll throw it over to you guys because this is one where I see the title, the All-Star Race, and I feel like there's some things I have to learn still. So please, how are we doing, Ryan? How is your weekend, and what are you looking forward to this weekend?
My weekend was fantastic. I
Great.
got to put out some really good content, and Daily Fan Racing pretty much Ross Chastain the entire DFS field. So that was fantastic. Having a bunch of big winners. From the All-Star Race perspective, it's pretty cool. So I live 45 minutes from North Wilkesboro, and
Nice.
part of what me and my wife like to do is go drive the Blue Ridge Parkway. Like that's kind of our hey, let's go up there, drive it for a little bit, just get away. You're in the mountains, you can kind of turn your phones off and relax for a little bit. And because it's so close, it's an afternoon, right? Like it's a quick getaway. We used to drive by North Wilkesboro, and I would show her like, hey, this racetrack used to matter. It used to exist. Like it used to be a thing. We drove up to it. She was like, oh, cool, whatever. And now it's literally back. They're holding a NASCAR Cup Series race at North Wilkesboro, which is really, really cool. For me, as someone who grew up in the sport and watched races there, as a kid, this is a really cool moment. So it's really awesome to see. I'm excited for the race. Not necessarily the action in the race. I don't know if the racing product itself will be great. That remains to be seen. But it's going to be cool. The cars on track there. It's going to be cool to have the spectacle of everything involved. And at the end of the day, it's a fun environment. We got pit crew competitions and all-star opens and just different things happening this whole weekend, which should make it enjoyable.
For sure. And I don't know what's cooler about that story. The fact that you live so close to it, or that you convinced a girl to like you. So it is a fun one there. Jason, what about you? What was your past weekend like, and what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, you prefaced your intro talking about how, it's the typical excitement of the All-Star Race, which in reality, it hasn't been. There's been really no buzz around the All-Star Race for years, I feel like. The All-Star Race has been kind of a dead race. Last year we were at Texas, it was just hasn't put on a good show in years. And now, this is the first time, I can remember there being real, true excitement around the All-Star Race. I think since they announced it on the schedule, everybody was pumped about it. The anticipation's been building. I can't wait to see, the track, come to life. I kind of haven't got to see some of the modified races the last couple nights. I know been going on, people have been watching on stream. I've had some busy nights, so it's cool because I'm going to see these cars on the track the first time, with the trucks and the NASCARs out there. So I can't wait to see it. It's going to be fun. If you've seen pictures of the track surface, it looks like a cheese grater out there. You're going to see a lot of tire wear. It's going to be hopefully a fun race. Like Ryan Larkin said, we don't know what kind of product we're actually. I don't know why I used your last name there. I don't know what kind of
product. My middle name too.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. You're in trouble. But we don't know what product we're going to see from a racing standpoint, because short flat tracks haven't put on a great show really, since we've had this package. So who knows what that's going to look like, but still, it's still cool to see. So.
For sure. And I'm excited to break it down too. As always, guys, please hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel. We're going to break down this entire race, as a preview, because we don't know all the competitors in the race, if I'm not mistaken here, where there's still a lot for us to learn, but we're giving you guys that early insight and really what the lineup build should look like going into Sunday. So Ryan, I'm going to throw it over to you. Please inform me more about what the All-Star Race entails and how it changes the excitement level that Jason talked about.
Yeah, so the All-Star Race is, and I'm not going to have all the rules exactly right probably on this, but the All-Star Race is every race winner since the beginning of 2022. I believe it's past champions and past All-Star Race winners. So you got 21 drivers in the race, I believe, as of now. Then we'll have 2 drivers race their way in from the All-Star Open. So basically anyone who's not locked in is going to race and try to get their way in to this event. And then we'll have 1 driver that's voted in as well by the fans. So we'll have 24 cars. And at that point, it's pretty much going to run like a normal race, but with, 12 less drivers at our disposal from a DFS perspective. There is I believe they're doing a halfway break. Not back in the day or in recent years, we've seen like 5 stage breaks or 5 breaks at the end of the All-Star races that have really just kind of made it worse of a product, honestly, because the leader just got out on fresh tires and was able to cruise. So at least we're getting long runs here. I think that's going to be a big help, where we're going to be able to see these guys go 75 laps, start getting, worn out tires, and passing might start happening at that point, which is a positive. And then, at the end of it, whoever's standing at the end of this race is going to win $1 million. So that's, from their perspective, that's what they're shooting for. From a DFS perspective, the pricing is pretty much going to be wide open because there's only 24 drivers at the end of the day. They have to make it so you can play pretty much anyone so that there's not a bunch of, duplicates and everyone's not on the same plays. They want you to be able to do pretty much whatever you want so that you can be different in your lineup building, which is important. And then because there's only 24 cars, there's not a lot of place differential guys. The guys that come in from the All-Star Open are going to be the best place differential guys. They're probably guys you're going to want to target in that realm. And then because there are a lot of laps, we're going to be looking at race, leaders, dominators in this event as well. We're probably going to need one, if not two of those as well.
Okay, well, I'll make sure Jason confirms everything you said so far is true. So please, is there anything you have to add to that? Or you break it down correctly? And what's your excitement level for this one, Jason?
Yeah, I think he covered everything pretty well. He didn't mention there is heat races, right? The day before. So we're going to get to see the field actually is going to be set for the open race, for the All-Star race by these heat races. So we're going to actually see cars on track in race style format before the race. So that's always good to get that information. But yeah, Ryan hit it right. Ryan Larkin, he hit it right, the nail right on the head when he mentioned, the dominator points. Because when All-Star races in the past, been a mile and a half. So they've been really short races, 50, 60 laps totals. It wasn't, dominator points was never really a focus for All-Star races generally, but now we have 200 laps. So 200 laps is, it's almost the length of a normal race as far as, laps and the type of dominator points that can come. And what we've seen, short flat tracks, we don't know exactly what we're going to see on this race, but we can assume it's going to be really difficult to pass. That track position is going to matter. And like Brian said, that position differential is going to be kind of capped. You're not going to get a guy that's going to be able to score 20 plus position differential points unless he's going to finish top 5, right? So really that position differential cap is probably going to be around like 10 to 12 points. So for me, like my focus this week is going to be on those dominator points. I think they're going to be easier to predict. I think they're going to have your highest upside. With the way salaries shaping up, you can squeeze a lot of those types of plays in, I feel like. And you can really key in on those guys starting towards the front of the field, because generally that's what we see on short flat tracks. If you look at every short flat track race since the start of 2022, we've seen that's 11 races. We've had 37 performances of 20 plus dominator points, right? 24 of those came from guys who started inside the top 10, 19 started inside the top 5, 8 of the 11 pole sitters all scored over 20 dominator points. So we can generally assume, like this race, when you have heat races, the fastest cars are likely going to be starting at the front. After that, these guys are going to have the track position. You can really key in on starting, 3, maybe 4 guys starting inside that top 6 or 7 and really chase those dominator points this week.
Okay, well, you know what? It is a different field because, like you said, we have this really open kind of salary where we can build a lot of people in, and it's going to be one where we only have 24 racers, so those place differentials are a bit different. So it kind of leaves us with this opportunity. Sorry, what's that? There we go. Yep. To sit there and really wonder how we are targeting lineup construction. So I'll give you a little bit of time to think about that. I realize I never really recapped last week in Darlington. So I'm going to throw that over to Ryan, and we can go there and fix up my mistake of not talking about last week, and let me know how you thought of it.
Last week was cool. We kind of touched on it to an extent, but we breezed over it pretty quickly. Last week was good racing. Darlington, of course, delivered, especially the Xfinity race, which isn't a surprise. I don't think that's failed to deliver there in years. Jason, should we do it now? Do we talk Ross Chastain now? Is this?
Well, I think he lobbed it in there for you, right? I think it's coming.
Jeez, man, it drives me crazy the crap he's getting, right now. That race, I don't know which way I should attack this. That Kyle Larson's a jackass that drives people into the wall consistently, race after race, and he doesn't get anything in terms of flack. But Ross Chastain's the worst driver in the world. Like, is it just because he costs people money in DFS? Is that the main reason? Because I don't understand the hatred. Like, the dude's going out there, going for the race win, doing everything he can again to battle the best drivers at the front. Like, I didn't look it up. I meant to look it up, but how many races has a non-HMS or JGR car won on intermediate tracks since the start of last year? It can't be many. right? Like he's having to go toe to toe against the two top organizations, and he's the only one doing it. He's the only one contending with them, and he's doing it week after week. Like the fact that he crashed because he's full sending, whatever. Like move on. These people are driving me crazy. Meanwhile, Kyle Larson put himself in the wall at Kansas, put himself in the wall in the Xfinity race, put Ross Chastain in the wall. The restart before that one, like I just don't get it. I don't know if people are just closed-minded, stupid, whatever it is. But it drives me crazy. Ross Chastain should not stop a single thing he's doing. Like, that dude's amazing. And, yeah, it sucks that he wrecked. He probably could have done a little bit better. Finishing third does not mean crap to him. It doesn't help anything. I love going for it. I hope he keeps going for it.
I mean, that's the culture that NASCAR wanted, right? That's the whole format they put in. They wanted the emphasis on the win. It's no longer second place is good enough, right? Like it means nothing. The difference between when you've got the racked up stage points, difference between finishing second there and finishing 30th. Like who cares? Go for the win. And I think my point is that you can put I bet you there's dozens of different combinations of drivers. You could start on that front row there with 15 laps to go, 7 laps to go, and they're going to do the exact same thing. I mean,
you mean Martin Truex, who did it the restart before?
Exactly. I mean, Logano last year on Byron did the exact same thing. The only thing is Logano didn't hook into the wall, right? He didn't wreck and take them both out. But like Chastain's became this pinata, this easy scapegoat of, blame Chastain. What I can't understand is everybody keeps saying shit like, this is the third time he's wrecked Larson. No, it's not. Like, he didn't wreck Larson. He wrecked Brennan Poole, who Larson happened to get caught up. He didn't, spin out Larson and somehow saying, Talladega, he wrecked Larson. It was a big freaking wreck. Like, he wrecked everybody. I guess if you're counting that, then I guess chalk it up. Chalk all the wrecks up to Chastain. Right?
Gregson wrecked everybody. Let's be truthful about this.
Right. So, I don't understand the hate out there. Obviously, I'm a Ross Chastain apologist, but I just feel like everybody knew what the hell was going to happen. Like with 7 laps to go, when that restart was going to happen, we all saw Larson run Chastain's ass into the wall on the previous restart when Truex wrecked. So Chastain had no choice but to start on the inside and do the same thing, or else what's he going to do? So there was no way either one of those two guys were lifting coming out of turn 1. No way. They both had committed, okay, we're going to fucking wreck these. Sorry, we're going to wreck these cars, right? None of them, they knew they were not going to walk out of there with the win. And they both were okay with that because neither one of them wanted to lift. And I think that's that's like you said. Chastain's doing things in that car, underfunded equipment, not underfunded, but not as nearly good as the Hendrick cars and the JGR cars. And he's doing it because of his driving style.
He's the only one.
Because he's pushing cars, right? I mean, that's it.
Like think about it. I think Kyle Busch might have had the best car, but he never got to the front. And why is that? Because he wasn't aggressive enough. Ross Chastain, every restart, every lap's pushing it, he got himself to the lead. Kyle Busch had a really freaking fast car, but he was never able to get over that hump, to get to the lead, to lead the race and take control. And that's what I attribute to Ross Chastain is, he's ruffling feathers, but you know what? There's a reason for it, and it's getting him out front.
What does Alex Bowman do in that one car?
15th every week,
right?
He's Daniel Suarez.
What does William Byron do in that one car?
It's Daniel Suarez. We see it every week. Right. Daniel Suarez, it's either getting wrecked or it's 12th or 15th. You're like, how is Ross 4th? But you can compare within his own stable, and Daniel's a solid driver, but if you put any mid-level driver in that car, they're going to run 15. All right, we're done. We're done.
Well, I don't want to be done yet. Yet.
Okay.
That's not a word. I don't want to be done so soon. Kind of segueing into this week, if he's going to consistently be someone who wrecks and causes turmoil, how does that affect the way we play him on DraftKings? Is it going to affect the way that people race against him? Is it going to affect the way that
this week it might?
It might. So does that really play into your ownership at all?
So this is a good week if someone wants to wreck them, to just go ahead and wreck them. There's no points online. It's kind of a specialty event, right? Like if someone wants to send a message and turn them, this is the week to do it. Short track, you should be able to get in. It's a good time, but I never want to build DFS lineups for that. I don't know how the hell I can truly predict that. Is it going to happen this week, or is it going to happen at Sonoma, or is it going to happen? I always think about Brian Vickers and Tony Stewart, and then they go into the final hairpin and, Tony Stewart ends up on the tire barrier. Like, it can happen at any track. Like, you can get dumped and wrecked at any track. I don't think we necessarily built for that. If you're a guy that wants to lower some percentage, your ownership percentage on Ross because of it, you can, I guess, but it hasn't happened yet. Now I think the better way to look at it is, okay, he's wrecked himself at Darlington, took himself out of a good finish. He's wrecked himself at other tracks. He's taken himself out of good finishes because of his maneuvers. Like, you can sit there and say, I don't trust him as an entity because he's more likely to crash in general. That's like the Ricky Stenhouse effect. Like, 2 years ago, Ricky Stenhouse wrecked every week and he was overextending himself. And it was like, Jesus, dude, just stop wrecking. And even on weeks when he would qualify 32nd and be an obvious shock play, you weren't comfortable playing him because of the crash potential. You can factor that in the Ross Chastain, but in terms of payback, I don't think you can really predict that. So therefore, I think trying to plan for that's not a good idea.
Okay, and that makes sense. And that was a nice, fruitful conversation. Let's move into how we are actually targeting these drivers here this week. And we don't have any banners set up, I don't think, about any, high tier, mid tier, value tier. Just speak to me. We got 24 drivers on the track. Only, I think, you guys say 21 of them are already confirmed in there. Who do you think does well at this track? And we'll start with you, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be hard to ignore, obviously, the HMS guys again this week. Your Larsons, your William Byron. These two guys have had the fastest cars, week in and week out. If you look at, kind of, it's hard. It's like comparable tracks, for this race as far as like what I'm looking at is you're looking at Richmond. They had the exact same tire code that they're running here. You can also kind of look at Phoenix, but those are the two races, that I think are probably most of the closest resemble what we're going to see. And these two guys, dominated both those races as well. So it's going to be very likely that they're going to show up with a lot of speed. But another guy who you want to look at probably in that top range is going to be a guy like Kevin Harvick. He's one of my probably favorite plays for this week. A good veteran. He's going to be a guy who can save those tires. And I don't think Ryan failed to mention, I think in his breakdown of the races, that last 100 laps of the race, that last stage, they only get one set of sticker tires, right? So being able to that they can change into. So you're going to have to go at least 50 laps before they change tires, or some guys may stretch it. But my point is Harvick is one of the best in the game at saving those tires, conserving it. I think his veteranness, I don't know if that's a word, will play out. And we know, Stuart Haas Racing is always really fast on short flat tracks. This really sets up perfectly for a Kevin Harvick type race. Short flat track, they got speed. Tire wear is going to be a big factor. Yeah, I think Harvick's going to be a guy I'm going to be focused on quite a bit.
Right. Yeah. Do you seem to? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, let me piggyback on that. So what Jason said about the one set of tires in the final stage, if you want to call it the final 100 laps, is kind of a crucial aspect to my lineup building. I'm going to go in there and sit there and say, yeah, I love Kevin Harvick. I love him. I really like Martin Truex because we're talking about a high tire wear track. We should see it, even within 50 to 60 laps, hopefully 2.5 seconds of fall off. So that's significant. That'll be really good to see. That should create some comers and goers, and I'll trust a guy like Truex and like Harvick, guys who are great on long runs, to deliver there, just like they do at Richmond, right? Just like we saw, just a couple weeks ago at Richmond. The caveat I'll say for DFS lineups is if we get a caution with 60 to go or 50 to go or 40 to go, we're going to have some people pit then and take that last set of tires, maybe with 50 to go, 40 to go. We saw it in the Cars race. It was last night. There's guys that pitted with 50 to go. I believe Carson Kvapil did that. And then there was another caution with 25 to go. And then the rest of the guys came in and took tires or whatever. So that could happen in the Cup race as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to change the result of the race winner. But for DFS, we could be looking at someone who's literally running 18th, who's not really in contention, saved their set of tires. Caution comes out with 50 to go. Majority of the field pits. They don't. Another caution comes out 20, 25 laps later. They come in, and now their tires are a second a lap faster, and they're in a better situation towards the end. They could take that 18th place car and finish 8th. And all of a sudden, that could be a big swing for DFS purposes. Obviously, that's a very difficult thing to project or to even guess who that might be. I'm obviously going to try to put my best foot forward in most lineups, go with guys I trust and teams I trust. But I think there is a bit of variance possibilities there, and creating lineups, creating pivots to other guys, getting ownership on guys you might not even want to touch is probably a sound strategy for this race, because there's something that can affect it like that. If there was 4 sets of tires sitting and they all had the ability to just put on tires every time there was a caution, we wouldn't be talking about it. But because there's one set and they have to pick and choose when they're going to do that, I think it's kind of a vital aspect of how we build lineups this week.
Sure. And I know Jason talked a lot about one driver who I'm sure we'll talk about it shortly as well. But if you had to single in on one driver who you not only think is going to have success in this track, but you think that might win, who would be your predicted race winner here?
So I really like Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick popped in my head before we even got together as my potential race winner. One, because short flat tracks. One, because he's great at high tire wear. You know, when it comes to hitting their marks on the short track, Kevin's really, really good here. He looked good in the cars race on long runs. It looked like that was just a test session for him, just to figure out the track, figure out the tire wear, figure, you know, how things would shake out. On the long run there in that cars tours race, he looked really, really good speed-wise. So I expect that to play out again. The issue I have with Kevin Harvick is the front end speed, the first 10, 20 laps, where HMS just clearly is better. JGR is just clearly better. I think Richmond's going to carry over a lot to this race. So I do like what we saw at Richmond. I like what we saw from HMS with William Byron early, went out there and dominated until he got spun late. I also think a guy like Christopher Bell, short flat tracks is his bread and butter. I think he's a guy that could really stand out as well. But, you know, I think for me, Martin Truex Jr. is the guy I really want to focus on. Long green flag runs on high tire wear tracks is just he's the best to me. Like, it's the same thing we saw literally at Darlington for the first half of the race, right? It was phenomenal. He spun himself out, and that really got him back in traffic a little bit and kind of screwed his day up. But like the first 2 runs at Darlington, he was untouchable. Why? Great at taking care of his tires, good over the long run, great there. We've seen it at Richmond. Obviously, you know, he was great there already this year. So I just feel like he's too good at this style of racing that I expect him to be at the front.
Okay, well, you kind of dodged my question there too. Did you pick a race winner?
Are we picking race winners now?
I was thinking we talk about it right away.
Yeah, so my race winner is actually William Byron. You know, it's not Truex. It's not, and plain and simple, what we've seen from Byron at Phoenix, what we saw from Richmond, that to me is just the speed's too good. And I made a joke off air, but it's kind of true. The dude's probably spent like 500 hours on North Wilkesboro on iRacing, and that might not seem to matter at all. But when you compare that to someone like Kevin Harvick, whose first laps were pretty much the Cars Tour race, or guys who really haven't seen this track at all, I think Byron's going to have a pretty good feel for it. He's really good at holding a tight line and not burning his stuff off either. He's a good high tire wear track driver as well. Obviously ran good at Richmond, won at Darlington here recently, a week ago. So, you know, he's good at this style of racing as well. I feel like that comes from the iRacing aspect. If you've ever ran it, it's kind of annoying, but like there's no wheel input. Like you have to be very, very steady on the wheel when you're doing that. And I think that's where his ability to be good at Homestead, to be good at Darlington, to be good at Richmond comes from. And so I expect that to pay off. And I just think his car is going to be faster. Like, plain and simple, Hendrick's just been the best stuff all year. And I think it's going to be hard to overcome.
I love that pick, Ryan. And also, if you look, obviously, like, he's had the fastest cars at, you know, these short flat tracks. Sorry, but I just wanted to add that, like, if you're looking to probably bet William Byron right now, like, if it shocked me that he's like the fifth favorite here, when I feel like he should be, you know, up top 2 3s. You can get 10-1 on him right now. I think if you want to bet him, you're probably going to bet him now, because I imagine after the heat races and practice, when he shows some speed, you know, it's probably going to go down. I would anticipate. So it's just something that I wanted to toss in there.
Well, I'm going right back to you here, and a large reason why I kind of skipped a section here to talk about race winners is because you've already kind of mentioned yours, and I want to just get this out of the way here. Spoiler alert: you have mentioned him, so go in a little bit more detail about your guy who you're picking to win.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick. I don't know what, I can't really add anything more than we've already said. Larkin kind of beat his drum as well. Yeah, Kevin Harvick, he was my pick for Monday morning. I woke up and tweeted out that Kevin Harvick wins the AllStar race. So I'm going to stick by that. Like, I mean, everything lines up for this to be a Kevin Harvick race. It'd be so sweet also to see him win the AllStar. Maybe it's a fan of me, but to see him win his last AllStar race and be it at, you know, a track like North Wilkesboro, I think would just be awesome. So,
Okay. Yeah, well, we're getting to this new part here.
Sorry, Gordo.
Sorry. Sure. No, you're good. You're good. And we're getting to this weird part where usually we talk about value, but we don't really need too much value this week with the soft salaries. But we also only have a little bit of the field. So instead, if it's okay with you guys, I would love to know who you guys think are going to win the qualifying to make it into the race here. The guys who haven't
Yeah,
started
I think
already.
that would be not only win, but like I'm sorry, I don't mean to take over the show here, but like
Good.
Larkin, like what are you like? Where is your thought on these guys who are going to come in from? Like who from the open race do you think you're going to be like really excited about if they make it? Because
man.
like I don't know, because I'm looking at like everybody's going to focus to these guys, right? And can they move through the field? Like what's it going to take for what kind of car are we going to need to move through the field in this race?
Yeah, it's tough. I think the biggest advantage that these guys are going to have is that they're going to have had laps on the track, and we've seen with this car very minor adjustments is how you get dialed in. It's not about huge swings anymore. And having laps on the track before the All-Star race will be advantageous to these guys. So I think whoever does advance, one will be better set up, than some of the guys in the field. And there are some good drivers. Eric Almirola, short flat tracks. If he's able to get out of this, we've talked about Stuart Haas. I think he's a guy that can finish top 10. Realistically, just if the race flows standard, and I think he can move through the field and get a good finish. So Eric Almirola is one of my guys to win that. And then Ryan Preece kind of fits in that same mold. Teammates, they both look pretty decent on short flat tracks already this year. Obviously, Almirola gets the edge because of experience and everything like that. But I feel like both those guys have a good shot. And then you do have a Gibbs car with Ty Gibbs and Josh Berry in the 48 as well, that are both in elite equipment, who are good short flat track drivers who have the ability to advance and then make an impact in the main race. I mean, Josh Berry, he made his name on this style of track, high tire wear, taking care of his stuff, short flat track. So you got to like those guys if they can advance as well, because let's face it, there's guys that won races last year because of circumstances, right? They're not, it's not like years past where just Kyle Larson wins 10 races and then the other guy wins 5 races and then there's only a handful of winners. It's 19 people won races last year, right? Like there was a huge chunk of the field that won races. So I think some of those guys will struggle overall. And I don't think I'm looking forward to see who's going to advance out. Hopefully we get some of those good drivers that make it out of the All-Star Open. And I do think we can kind of attack those guys if they do make it.
Yeah, that's my general thought. Like you got some strong cars, right? You have Ryan Preece, like all those guys like that you named. Like yeah, I think do have potential to perform pretty solid in the All-Star race, but they are obviously going to be up against a lot stiffer competition. These are guys who are typically running 12th or 13th, right, on a given week. Maybe they have top 10 upside, but I don't think they're going to go out there get top 5 type performances. Which brings me to my point. If you look at like how DraftKings has priced these guys, right, we have Barry at 8,400, Gibbs at 8,000, because obviously they're anticipating they make the race. They're going to be starting from the back. Priest 78, Almirola 75. So like talking with the emphasis, at least what I put on dominator points, like I feel like, I don't know, part of me wants to like just load up on the dominators and maybe like kind of avoid these guys and hope that they just don't reach their ceiling. I don't know. It's kind of my thought moving in. I mean, I know you're risking a little bit, right? They're going to be higher on guys, but I mean, I don't think they have the upside of the guys above them.
I appreciate what you mentioned there with the pricing is, yeah, DraftKings is like, if any of these guys do advance, they don't need to be 5,000, right? They don't need to be so easy to plug and play. So the pricing on that is actually a good job by them. It kind of makes it more difficult to just load up on all those guys. I think the biggest thing for me is, okay, I am going to like those guys. I think there's going to be a lot of value in them personally, but maybe the guys that start right in front of them, maybe those guys that start 16th through 20th goes overlooked.
Cheaper.
Those are cheaper. Those are your tournament plays who maybe can deliver. And again, as I mentioned, when we're talking about one set of tires, maybe they just play the tire strategy right. And regardless of who's good or not, the guy that started 17th, runs 17th all night, just puts a set of tires on at the right time and is able to finish 7th or 8th and wins the slate for you. So I do like, I mean, literally there's 5 or 6 guys in that race that I think deserve to be an all-star race, like have the cars and have the ability to run top 10 in that race. So their upside's good enough for me to be on them a lot. Like I said, they're going to be chalky. They're going to get a lot of ownership for the same reasons. Maybe we can pivot off of them and try to leverage that a little bit.
Yeah, you can pivot off of them for guys like that who are in the race right now, who are going to be starting in front of them, right? Who are priced like Brad Keselowski at 7,100. That's like a guy who's a great price for when you look at how he's performed on short flat tracks, right? The speed that he's shown.
He's
right?
Richmond too.
Yeah, fast at Richmond, and he's probably not going to be as a position different for play like those guys, above him that everybody's going to jam in. So that's going to be another way to potentially, get different this week is you're going to be able to jam in whoever you want, right? And most people are they're going to play those obvious position different plays with those dominators because they can, right? So leaving salary on the table is always important, but this week I feel like it's going to be even extra important to make sure you're getting different and not using all that salary.
Okay. Well, you guys covered a lot of those things there. I think we're 30 minutes, man. If there's anything else you guys want to add, please feel free, because I've gone through my list of questions. I'm actually excited for this race now. You guys left me some good points, and I feel more educated towards what to expect. But floor is yours if there's anything else you want to talk about.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump in. Please subscribe to the channel. That's the biggest thing. We've been gaining slowly. I think we're at 228, which is cool. The goal is 300 right now, so jump in there. Me and Jason will do some giveaways to our sites. If you can jump in, subscribe to the channel for us. Like the video, tell everyone about it. I'm good. Jason, I don't know if you have anything else to touch on in terms of AllStar Race. I'll finish up by saying, if you're dogging on Ross Chastain, then shut the hell up. Like, this is the best thing we've had to talk about in literally 15 years. So sit down, shut up, and enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
Okay.
I second all that. I don't have anything to add either besides, follow my stuff. I still have all my content coming out this week. It's an all-star weekend, but there ain't no all-star break over here at FreeNASCARDFS. I'll have the breakdown, article, cheat sheets, all that good stuff, and bright and early Sunday morning. So run for sports.
Go.
Yeah.
I guess I should have plugged our stuff too. I was more interested in telling people they're stupid for hating Ross Chastain. On that side of things, we got a comment.
Yes. I try not to do crunches, to be honest.
Crunch. That sounds like it's gonna hurt. No, so I think for me, I'm gonna build after everything's settled. Like I'm gonna pretty much build after we know the full lineup, after I know who's gonna advance, because who advances out of that All-Star Open may greatly affect who I play. Like, if Josh Berry or Eric Almirola or Ryan Preece advance, I'm gonna be heavy on those guys. Like, I'm gonna be excited about them. If Corey LaJoie advances somehow, I'm probably going to be a lot more hesitant, and then that's going to affect how I kind of build my lineups most likely. There's going to be other things I'm willing to do or not do off of that. But I think it's important to know the full picture, know everything that we got going on there before we build any lineups. Now, you could technically say, I'm going to go in this race and not play any of those guys and just build lineups out once you know how the first 21 drivers are going to start. You could do that, and honestly, it's not a bad thing. Like, you can say, I'm going to leverage whatever that ownership is on those back guys. I'm going to go ahead and take it now. It's not the wisest thing, but you could, and it could work out for sure. But let me wrap up real quick. We literally crushed the Cup race at Kansas. That was phenomenal. We followed up by a couple of truck takedowns, and then, Will took down everything in terms of the Xfinity Series. We had a few more then. I just want to say thank you to all of our subscribers. To have that kind of success, 3 slates in a row like that, to be that successful, and that's the dream. So thanks, guys. Thanks for all your hard work and everything you do to put everything together. Obviously, I do a lot of stuff for you guys, and I hope it helps, but none of it works if you guys can't take the information and then make it work yourselves. And so I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone that supported us. And this weekend's gonna be weird. Truck Racer's like a 2-hour turnaround, so the content's gonna be tight on that. It's going to be ridiculous. And then for the Cup stuff, it's wonky. We got to wait for All-Star Open. We got to wait. And so we're going to piece everything together. Hopefully we can get as much content as we can. But this weekend's a little funky, but hopefully we can all enjoy the race and maybe win some money.
Okay. I like that mentality. And I don't have much more to say than that. I mean, if you guys want if we have the All-Star Race for NASCAR this weekend, the UFC card's almost as good. I mean, the UFC card's great. No, it's not. But if you want any content there, Plays and Fade Sports, little plug. But that's going to do it for us here on the Daily Fan Racing YouTube channel. I've been happy to talk about the All-Star Race with these two beautiful gentlemen beside me. As they mentioned, please go check out all their stuff. Hit the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, and I look forward to doing it all again next week. So I wish everyone the best of luck in all their betting and DraftKings endeavors this weekend. Let's make some money, guys. Peace.
Go Ross.